Hello there, my name is Hydo and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're in the world of Innistrad and there's a lot of horrible things that go bump in the night, and one of the men that makes them, well, it's good old Ludevic, Necrogenius. And he comes to us with a brand new card here. 2 mana, a blue and a black for a 2/3 human wizard, and when it enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. Do you want to fill up the graveyard? Then you can pay double blue, double black, and X. Exile X creature cards from your graveyard. Transform Ludevic. X can't be 0. Activate only as a sorcery, which that does really suck. I hate not being able to activate these sort of things at instant speed, but still, well, we're going to be transforming into Olag, Ludevic's Hubris. So apparently, according to the source, this isn't Ludevic, this is just his creation, and what a horrible beast it is. It's a zombie, and this creature transforms into Olag, from Olag. It becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with it, except its name is Olag Ludevic's Hubris. It's a 4/4, and it's legendary blue and black zombie in addition to its other colours and types. Puts a number of 1/1 counters onto Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled this way. So our 2 mana commander can become a massive threat in the command zone. And, you know, it could be absolutely enormous. So we want to fill our graveyard through the milling and, you know, all sorts of other things. And then turn into a massive copy of a creature. So we want a nice bit of evasion, that sort of thing. Really, really cool commander. And do you know what else is really cool? Being a subscriber to my channel. It is actually quite cool, though. Everyone will be very impressed with you. So, please subscribe. Going to be doing videos like this for every single legendary creature, most of the way through Midnight Hunt. And, you know, we're going to do every single one. So, come and join me on the journey. Without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5. So, I talked about, you know, wanting to fill the graveyard. So, let's use cards like Buried Alive, which is a 3 mana sorcery. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards, put them into your graveyard and shuffle your library to fill the graveyard and be able to, you know, exile a lot of creatures to make Oleg absolutely massive. And if we're playing a sort of reanimated strategy, sorry, I'm not feeling very well. This is going to be extremely powerful because you can just tutor whatever you want into the deck. Then the better version of this, well, sort of. In this deck, I actually preferred Buried Alive because you're getting 3. So there's lots of cards to exile, you know, to get lots of counters on our commander. But Entomb is a classic. 1 black for an instant. Search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. So that is not just creature. You could get sort of an instant sorcery, maybe something with flashback to be able to cast it. Absolutely wonderful. Then creatures are always great because, you know, we're going to choose something into a graveyard, but when this dies, it's also another creature we can exile with Ludevic to get a counter on him. So Entomb Exile, 4 mana 2/2. When it's the battlefield, choose one. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and target opponent reveals their hand. Choose non-creature card from it. That player discards that card. So a nice bit of disruption, and also, you know, anything we tutor into the graveyard, so we want to cast it, you know, we can get it back with something like this. Then an Entomb on a stick is Gravebreaker Lamia. 5 mana 4/4 with lifelink, Snake Lamia. So this is a cool card to exile and become with our commander, because our commander will have lifelink. And when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. So it just gets anything you want, maybe your best creature. And then spells you cast from your graveyard cost 1 less to cast. So if you're getting a spell with flashback, well, this is incredible with the card. Then there's Vile Entomber. 4 mana for a 2/2 with Death Touch. So it's going to be a 4/4 with Death Touch. Ooh. Which our commander becomes this. And when it enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, and then shuffle. And finally, this card, it's not a tutor into the graveyard, but I love this card. I think it's so, so good. I bought quite a few foils of this card because I love it so much, and it just seems like so much value. 2 mana for a 2/1 human wizard. Malevolent Hermit. Pay blue, sacrifice it. Can't target non-creature spell unless its control pays 3. So in Commander, a lot of non-creature spells flying around, and a lot of them are extremely good. So having this on the board to be able to sacrifice it and, you know, counter the spell is phenomenal. And then when it's sacrificed, it goes to your graveyard. There's more though. When it's in the graveyard, you can disturb it, so you can cast it from your graveyard. So yes, we can exile it to our commander to become a copy of it. I think this is one of the cards you just exile to get a counter, but you could disturb it from the graveyard to get a Benevolent Geist. The Spirit Wizard with flying, non-creature spells you control can't be countered, which is phenomenal if you're going for sort of a big reanimation play, something like that. This card is great. If it would die, it'd be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it. But if it's flickered, or, return to your hand, you get it back and you can cast it all over again. It's just so good, and it's a spirit, which might come up on your test later. Which brings me on to number 4. And at number 4, ways to make our commander unblockable is really, really good, because if we're transforming this, say Flitter Step Eidolon is in the graveyard, well, if our commander becomes this, our commander will be unblockable and a 4/4 and then have loads of counters on it. But this is a great card because we could also use it just if our commander's a 2/3, because we can bestow it on. And if we mill it, it's a creature card in the graveyard. So it works on so many different levels. It bestows for 6 mana, so you can enchant it as an enchantment. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and can't be blocked. And if it's just a general creature, it gets +1. It's a 1/1, can't be blocked. And can't be blocked is incredibly powerful with this commander because we want to get in there. Combat damage is essential here, and we're going to be attacking with our commander to get those mills and that early game sort of pressure going. Then the Skeleton Key, 1 mana for an equipment. Quick creature has Skulk. It can't be blocked by a creature power greater than it. So, anything that's power 3 or greater can't block our commander. And whenever a quick creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and then discard a card. So filling up our graveyard, absolutely fantastic, exactly what we want to be doing in the deck. Then another great way to make our commander unblockable is Mask of Riddles. A blue and a black for an equipment. Quick creature has Fear. Ooh, I'm scared. He is actually quite a scary character. I wouldn't want to be transformed into anything by him. And whenever a quick creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, or may draw a card. That was a weird noise. It was my spoon. There's a spoon going around the edge of a bowl. Beautiful. So this leads into a further topic that I'm going to talk about, which is combat damage. So this is a great trigger, and Fear is a wonderful way of being unblockable. Then Artful Dodge, 1 blue for a sorcerer. Target creature is unblockable this turn, so we could target our commander. And then it has Flashback, so if we happen to mill this over with one of our cards, or we entomb it, we could make our commander unblockable again. So an excellent, excellent use of the card. Which brings me on to number 3, and at number 3, we've got Needle Spectre, and because our commander, when it becomes a copy of something, will be a baseline 4/4, potentially a lot bigger with all those counters on it, cards like this that scale off that are amazing. 3 mana for a 1/1 with flying and Wither. So it deals combat damage, or not just all damage, to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards that many cards. So if our commander is a 4/4, our opponent's going to discard 4 cards. You're not going to make friends with cards like this, I can tell you that much, but it just works so incredibly well in the deck. Similarly, the Cephalid Constable. 3 mana for a 1/1 Cephalid Wizard. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return up to that many target permanents that player controls to their owner's hand. So, if we've got an unblockable commander, maybe we, Artful dodged it. Our commander's a 7/7. This swings in as our commander. Yes, this is our commander. By God, a Cephalid as a commander. True power. But we deal combat damage to our opponent, and they return 7 things. And it's target, so you could just target all of their lands, and your opponent will be incredibly unhappy. But who cares? You've just won the game. Then there's Dream Stealer, a card I always wanted to use in a mutate deck, but because it's a human, you can't mutate onto this. But Oleg doesn't care. Oleg wants to be anything. So Oleg can be a human. 3 mana for a 1/2 with Menace, so a nice bit of evasion there. When it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards that many cards. It's just another Needle Spectre, and it's going to be utterly miserable. And if it's in your graveyard, you can eternalize it. So pay 6, exile it from your graveyard, create a token copy of it that's a 4/4 black zombie creature token. So even if we don't have our commander, we can utilize that and get in and make our opponents discard 4 cards. By God, everyone's going to be happy playing against you. Then this doesn't scale exactly from the Parent Owners, but it's just such a good on damage card. Lord of the Void, 7 mana for a 7/7 with flying. When it does combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library. Then put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield under your control. So it just gets to dig. Absolutely fantastic. We're exiling tons of cards. Oh, Wonderful, wonderful card. And having this as your commander, wow. I love it. I love this sort of effect. And look at the artwork, all those different coloured eyes, because you reanimated them from all the different players. It's so cool. Then, these are just cards that are good on combat damage creatures. And Sphinx Ambassador is one of my favourites. I mean, look at the stats on this. It's a 7 mana 5/5, which is, quite good. And then it's a flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, search that player's library for a card. That player names a card. If you search for a creature card that isn't the name card, you may put it onto the battlefield under your control. Then that player shuffles his or her library. This is such a cool little mini game. It's so much fun. I love just tutoring, like, ooh, what are they going to get? And they're like, oh, is it ginger taxes? No, it's wood elves. But you can do really cool things and, mess with your opponent's head. This is a great card to have your commander become. Then the Shadow Mage Infiltrator. 3 mana for a 1/3 with fear. So a nice bit of evasion that we can get our commander on. So it can't be blocked by artifact creatures and or black creatures. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So a nice bit of card advantage. And this is just a baseline great card to have in the deck. Just a 3 mana 1/3 that can just keep chipping in there, getting cards for you, is brilliant. Exactly what you want to see. Then a big guy here, Rexiel the Risen Deep. 6 mana 5/8. Whew. Island Walk and Swamp Walk. So it can't be blocked if an opponent controls one of them. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card will be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So you can just get to flashback something. The best card for no mana, and it's just such a cool card. Great commander. It's a 5/8. Just the cool thing about these cards is, yes, okay, if we get our commander as one of these, it's brilliant. But we could just cast it, and then, if we board wipe, our commander can become it later. So I love cards like this. Yes, they're expensive, but we can cheat them with our commander, but also just outright cast them. It's such a great way to play the game. And then in at number 2, we've got Mindless Automaton. And these cards are all about 1/1 counter synergies. So 4 mana for a 0/0 into the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it. Pay 1, discard a card. Put a 1/1 counter on Mindless Automaton. So a great way of getting cards into our graveyard, just discarding them to get the counters. And then we can remove 2 1/1 counters from Mindless Automaton. Draw a card. So if this is our commander can come in with tons of 1/1 counters, and we can just remove them all to get a load of advantage. Then we've still got a 4/4 knocking about. So really, really nice use of a card. And just as a baseline, 4 mana 2/2, not that good, but we can discard things, refill our hand. It works excellently. Then speaking of 1/1 counters, the Sage of Fables. 3 mana 2/2. Each of the wizard creature you control comes into play with an additional 1/1 counter on it. So if you want to sort of go into that wizard direction, you could do. I wouldn't, but it's up to you. Pay 2, remove a 1/1 counter from a creature you control, draw a card. So with this on the field, our commander, either this is our commander or, it's just on the sideline. I think Ludevic is a wizard. So this Ludevic could enter as a 3/4. So this is a really cool card, and you just pay 2 mana to remove a counter from our commander, draw a card. Nice bit of use of advantage. Then Sage of Hours, a cool one-shot extra turn card here in this deck. There's not too many ways to proliferate it in these colours. 2 mana 1/1. Heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Sage of Hours, put a 1/1 counter on it. Remove all 1/1 counters from it. For each 5 counters removed this way, take an extra turn after this one. So if you manage to get our commander to become this and we exile 10 cards from our graveyard, we're going to get 2 extra turns. Or just 5 cards, we're going to get 1. It's a cool little card. And then we've just got a 4/4 that'll be swinging in. So nice bit of advantage for free because, removing the counters doesn't cost any mana. Then there's Novigene Sages. 6 mana 0/0 with Graft 4. So then this creature enters the battlefield with 4 1/1 counters. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may remove or move a 1/1 counter from this creature onto it. So a nice way to buff up our commander. Then pay 1, remove 2 1/1 counters from one creature control, draw a card. So another great way of getting advantage from our commander. And the cool thing about all of these is if all the counters come off them, they go into the graveyard, we can exile it with our commander to get a counter onto our commander. Then, great card here, Necropolis Regent. So all of these cards have been about removing the 1/1 counters. This is about getting more onto it. 6 mana for a 6/5 with flying. Whenever a creature control deals combat damage to player, put that many 1/1 counters on it. So a lot of unblockability, so our commander can get in, build up those 1/1 counters, become a bigger threat, and then we can remove them for loads of value. Then, if we want our commander to become something that has a similar effect, there's Westgate Regent. 5 mana 4/4 with flying, so good evasion on our commander. Ward, discard a card, so whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player discards a card, so a nice bit of advantage there. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 counters on it. So baseline 4/4, it'll become an 8/8, then 16/16. It's just going to exponentially get bigger and bigger. Finally, we've got Crystal Ironcrawler, and a great use of 1/1 counters here. 4 mana for a 1/1. Wow. Converge it into the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each colour mana spent to cast it. So without, as a baseline, it's going to be a 3/3 with 2 1/1 counters. Remove a 1/1 counter from it. Add 1 mana of any colour. Then tap to add a 1/1 counter onto it. So with our commander, if we exile a bunch of creatures, our commander could become like a mana battery. We could store up mana and then have a big explosive turn. Really, really cool card. Then in at number 1, this is a slightly different direction to take it, and it's sort of a little build around that I'd put into the deck because of this one card. It's Iname Death Aspect. 6 mana for a 4/4 spirit. When it comes into play, you may search your library for any number of spirit cards and put them into your graveyard. If you do, shuffle your library. So with this card, we're just going to be able to fill our graveyard up and then cast our commander, or flip our commander, sorry, and it's going to be enormous thanks to all of the counters that we can put onto it. So what cool spirits can we tutor up to put in? Well, Mirror-Mad Phantasm works incredibly in this sort of self-mill deck. 5 mana for a 5/1 spirit with flying. 5/1, pretty goddamn weak, but it can pay 2. Its owner shuffles it into his or her library. If that player does, he or she reveals cards on the top of his library until a card named Mirror-Mad Phantasm is revealed. That player puts that card onto the battlefield and all other cards reveal this way into his or her graveyard. So we can just shuffle through our entire deck, lump everything into the graveyard. Amazing, amazing value. Really awesome creature, especially in this sort of self-milling deck. Then Gaslord of Fugue. 5 mana for a 4/4 Spirit Avatar. It is unblockable, so excellent for our commanders to come this. Our opponents won't be able to stop it. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player reveals his or her hand, choose a card from it, that player removes that card from the game. So pick your opponent's hand to pieces. Just a great little, thing to be doing, really control your opponents. Again, they will be miserable. They'll be very unhappy with you. But what does it matter? You're winning the game. Well, maybe. You're probably not winning the game because everyone's angry at you and they're just going to destroy you. But it's a cool spirit that you could get. Then there's Ghostly Pilferer. 2 mana for a 2/1. Whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. So if we've attacked him with our commander, we're going to be getting some advantage. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Now that is incredibly powerful in Commander because obviously with commanders, they're casting them from exile. There's a lot of cards you cast from the graveyard, anything with flashback, and you cast, and it's just so many ways that you can draw cards with this card for just 2 mana. And then you can discard a card. It can't be blocked this turn. So a great way of getting things into your graveyard for free from all the advantage that it's generating. And if our commander becomes it, it's a way to make our commander unblockable. Just does everything for the deck, and it's a spirit. Then we've got Mind Shrieker. 2 mana for a 1/1 with flying. I always love the artwork on this. I just think it looks so imposing. I love the colours on it. Flying, pay 2. Target player puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Mind Shrieker gets +X/+X until the turn where X of that card's converted mana cost. So if this is our commander, okay, we've got a 4/4 Mind Shrieker. We mill over a 5-drop. Oh god, our commander is like a 9/9 flyer. Do it again. Oh, it's a 25/25. You get what I mean? This could just one-shot someone, and it's a great way to fill the graveyard while becoming a big threat. Then we've got Dimir Infiltrator. 2 mana for a 1/3. It can't be blocked. Transmute for 3. So discard this card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost this card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Transmute only as a sorcery. It's just like cycling. The best mechanic that's ever been printed, by the way. But you get a specific 2-drop card. Really, really nice. And then finally, we've got Cryptghast. 4 mana for a 2/2 with Extort. So whenever you cast a spell, pay a black or a white. It's going to be black in this deck. If you do, for each opponent, they lose 1 life and you gain that much life. And whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add black to your mana pool. So all of these cards are just really cool in the deck. You know, that's going to get you a ton of mana, but they work so well with a name. And, you know, having that little spirit package, it could be incredibly explosive. And those are my top 5 cards for Ludevic. Really, really awesome commander. I love these flip cards. They're just so cool. And this one is just, it's like a little waiting game. You know, you get the best creatures in there, you flip him, you become something ridiculous, like a Mind Shrieker thing. It's just cool. I really, really like it. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this, please do like, comment, and tell me your favourite flavour of ice cream. I'd like to know that sort of stuff. Maybe. Anyway, bye.